Hello and welcome to my presentation on Insomnia. My name is Alan Leonellis and I'll be talking about the characters in the two films and the effects that their change has on the overall feel. So here's a list of the four characters I'll be covering in each film. The two lists correspond, so the top one is lead detective or the main actor in the two movies. The second one is the partner that gets shot. The third one is the female detective that investigates the shooting of the partner. And the last two names are the crime fiction writer or the murderer of the film. It's not a spoiler, don't worry. So we'll start with lead detective. In the original one, his name is Jonas Engstrom. He's pictured below. He has a much darker personality than you see from a murder thriller film, at least in America usually. His actions do not always correspond with what you think of a good cop would do. In one scene, to falsify evidence, he actually ends up killing a dog and then pulling the bullet out of the dog's body. It's a very intense scene and definitely starts it out that he is not your usual good guy cop. He also has built up sexual tension and aggression. He acts on that twice in the film. Once with the deceased girl's best friend, and once with the hotel hostess. And another time he's watching two people, and you can just see in his face that something's off his rocker about that situation, and that something's wrong when it comes to that kind of stuff. Another aspect of him is he saves himself first. So as I'll get to in a minute, I already mentioned, he kills his partner in a chase in the fog, so we can't see very well. But after he kills his partner, he doesn't even hesitate before changing the story and thinking about changing the evidence so that it points away from him. There's no real motive shown except for that he doesn't want to get in trouble at all, or just have that on his record. But it just shows that his personality is much darker than what I'm used to. So, in the remake, the character's name is Will Dormer, and he's a hotshot detective from Los Angeles. And he's your stereotypical American good guy cop that may have some ways of getting stuff done that aren't, by the book or whatever, but that's just to make it more fun. But as a whole, he's a good cop. He's controlled, he's poised, he knows what he's doing, stuff like that. A major switch in this version is that he's afraid of the internal affairs investigation of his hometown unit, or his office, digging up old stuff and ruining his career. So the whole time you get clues and snippets that he's done some kind of falsifying evidence before, and he's scared that I'll come back and ruin everything good he's done. Like I said, he's a very good policeman. People appreciate him and know that he does well what he does. And also after he kills his partner, even though there was a strained relationship at the beginning because his partner wants to make a deal with IA, he's still very distraught and doesn't know how he feels about the situation, what's going on, and changing the evidence and all that is very hard on him, even though, like I said, you get clues that he might have done it in the past. So that changes a lot about the film and how it's viewed. The next one I'm talking about is the partner. In the original, his name is Eric Fick, and as you can see, he's an older gentleman. He's had a long police career, but at the beginning of the film, it shows that he's starting to lose his memory and focus. They're in a hotel room, and he's telling a story to Engstrom, and he gets distracted, forgets what he was saying, and never finishes the story. After he was shot by Engstrom, he looked at him very confused and was, what he said, he was like, "You told me to go to the right. Told me to go to the right." And that's just to, to show his confusion of the situation and why it happened. Not necessarily blaming Engstrom, but just not really showing what's going on. In the remake, his name is Hep Eckhart. He's a much younger policeman. Like I said before, he plans on making a deal with Internal Affairs to save him from any serious problems later on, digging into his past, stuff like that. And after he gets shot by Dormer, he asks him if he did it on purpose, and he's honestly terrified of Dormer. And you see their strained relationship at the beginning after he tells Dormer he wants to make a deal and stuff like that. But this scene really makes an impact on Dormer and how he acts throughout the rest of the film. The third person is the female detective that investigates the shooting of the partner. In the original, her name is Hildy Hagen. She's a pretty experienced cop, and she's determined to find the truth behind everything going on, both the murder case and the shooting of the partner. And she starts to suspect Engstrom early on. She never actually says it, but you can just tell by the way she acts and the clue she finds that her investigation is not matching what he's saying, and it's not settling with her very well. In the remake, there's quite a big difference. Her name is Ellie Burr. She's a very young cop. She's a fresh cop, and she has followed Dormer's entire career, knows all of his cases, and looks up to him as a mentor. So as she's investigating the shooting of the partner, she has a much different feel. She doesn't want to see him as a bad guy or that he lied or anything like that. Excuse me. And so until the very end, she's not really looking at him until she finds enough evidence that it is him. And so that changed the relationship between the main cop and the female cop throughout the films, just in how they view him, and then the ending, how they deal with the situation that goes on. The last character I've talked about is the writer or the murderer. In the original, his name is John Holt. He's a very reserved gentleman, but he's quick to go along with Engstrom's plan to cover up that he murdered the girl so that Engstrom doesn't get caught that he shot his partner. As a whole, John Holt doesn't act innocent at all throughout the majority of the film until probably the last 20 minutes, which is much different than the remake where, I'll just go over there. So Walter Finch, he acts innocent the whole time. He calls up Dormer early on in the film and says, "We're in the same boat, we're innocent, it was an accident." And he's very hesitant to believe what Dormer tells him, how the plan will go, and all that stuff. So he takes initiative to protect himself and plants extra evidence. And so his and Dormer's relationship is much different. And at the end it comes to a head and stuff happens. Whereas in the original, in the end, Engstrom believes that it might have been an accident and that John Holt did not do it on purpose. So the impact of this, there's a much different feel throughout the movie. You know, when you're watching a good cop having a bad day or two, or you're watching a cop you don't know how you feel going through steps and doing things that you definitely don't like. You don't know how you feel about the situation and who to actually root for, honestly. Some of the characters' actions, like in the remake, when the partner wants to make a deal with IA, and then when Dormer shoots him and thinks that might have been a subliminal cause, that's a major theme throughout the rest of the movie, subliminally in the background, that maybe he did it on purpose. You just don't know. And in the end of the movie, when he's confused and completely sleep deprived, he doesn't know anymore. and that goes to the ending of the film. In the remake, Dormer is very confused. And he doesn't know what happened, but he sticks to his ground and makes sure everything ends up right. Or in the original one, Engstrom, he doesn't know if Holt did it on purpose. He actually says it might have been an accident, and so just that ending completely changes how the rest of the film went. So minor changes in the characters, or most of the characters, impact the film a lot, and the story, and just how it plays out. Thank you for listening, and now you will hear from Casey talking about the reception of the films.